So this is the this is the radio, the what I think is an All American 5, All American 6, as promised. I haven't touched anything. I did have to take it out of the cabinet, but it looks like there's some screws holding the chassis to this wooden cabinet frame. So I haven't looked underneath it yet. I still have no idea what it is under there. Um, and probably what's going to happen next is I'm just going to tilt this around a little bit so you can kind of see where we are. Um, and you'll have to bear with me. I'm learning a new process. So I'm getting a lot better look than what we saw the other day. And I'm gonna go through here. We're gonna find out. I don't know what these tubes are. I didn't really get a good look. I mean, obviously, this is a 12 SK7. I know I've seen that number before. Couldn't tell you what this is. Facing the wrong way. I see getter spots right here. So I had to take this tube out in order to get it out of the cabinet, and maybe I can show that later. When it's inside of the cabinet, the mech, the coin mech, is actually right over here to the side. So in order to get this out, there were two screws, one right here, and another one about right here, that were in the cabinet, and I pulled those two screws out, and then I could just rotate this whole thing and kind of move it around the coin neck and pull the whole thing out. So that is what we have. So now, of course, it's still going to have to come out of this other wood frame, and it looks like, and I didn't take a real good look, but I think it's just these two screws here and here. So I'll go ahead and off camera pop those out. The other thing is I want to get something over that speaker, because you saw what I just did. I really hate to have something go underneath there and damage it. It looks pretty good. We'll have to turn it around. I haven't actually even looked at the front face of this since I've taken it out, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. There it is. Wow, look at that. Look at this. That looks like somebody welded. There's a big weld. Ugh. Ugh. I don't even know how I'm going to deal with that. But that, I guess, is the fun thing. You find new things, right? So the speaker, be really careful here. I'll give it a little press and see if it's free floating. It appears to be. It appears to be moving okay. I don't want to wrinkle anything, so I'm going to keep my fingers off of it. There's no holes, there's no tears. That's pretty nice. And looks like this is bent just a little bit, but the face of this, most of it is actually in pretty good shape, but I can see there's some scrapes in the metal. You can see bare metal through the paint. And I've learned from talking with other people, don't mess around too much with the face of these things, because the writing screen print can come right off. Some wrinkles up here. Not sure if I can really do anything about that, and I'm not sure what this is. It looks like this. You can see my finger right through the back here. Must have been for something else at one point. Not really sure. But so we're just getting into this thing right now. Again, still haven't even looked underneath the bottom. I don't like that either. Not sure if you can really see that, but where it sits in this cabinet, the antenna coil is not laying flat. It's kind of, it's being lifted by this little piece of wood right here. Looks like, that's support for the top maybe, but the antenna is not underneath it. So not really sure why. So I'm going to go back to my original point, which I'm positive somebody was in here, but I don't know what they did in this. Yeah, that's going to be some work. I mean, I don't even know how I'm going to address it. It's a cold, I guess a saving grace is it's kind of a cold weld. I don't know how well that's coming across on camera, but it's definitely a weld, and it's cold. It almost looks like I could pop it off if I needed to. Not sure why anybody would have done something like that. I just that's beyond me. But Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get this thing carefully out of the rest of the surround, and see what we can do about looking underneath here, find out what kind of nightmares lurk. And once we have this, we should be able to get a better look at the underside of the chassis and see what's in there. Okay, so the good news is I was able to do a really pretty decent job getting everything out of that wooden surround. The problem was after I got done shooting that awesome reveal footage and stuck the SD card from the camera into my PC, guess what? Corrupt file, no usable film. So I could have thrown a fit, tossed some tools, said some bad words. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But I promptly began reshooting it and then realized that I had not plugged in my microphone. So this is basically take number 3. And I've learned some things along those takes. So the good part about that is we can get through this a little bit quicker. The bad part is, unfortunately, you didn't get to witness the actual reveal when I flipped this thing over. And I was horrified by at least one thing. So the very first thing that I noticed was a capacitor. The domino, one of the domino capacitors. And it is right down here at the bottom of the chassis. And I will see if I can, oh great, zoom this in just a little bit. Tip this back. Again, those antenna coil is still connected. So right down here in the bottom of the chassis, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit more. That capacitor has a huge crack in it. See that? So let me go ahead and see if I can just set this down a little bit more. Again, being very, very careful with that dial phase plate on there. So I'm noticing, in addition to that, we also have some other capacitors, some of the domino types, waxies. My thought on this is definitely somebody was in it, because somebody put that atrocious weld right there by the tuner knob. Don't know why. And I'm not sure if that kind of explained it. I don't really want to move it anymore, but the dial needle, or the dial wires, it rides on this knob. And I had noticed when I had tried to adjust the tuner needle, it would go so far and stick, and it wasn't quite sweeping the entire dial face. And also I noticed it was scratching, so I didn't want to play with it that much, but it's or it looked like it was a lot worse after I took it apart. There's these big slugs of weld up there, which we'll take another look at in a minute, but it's definitely hanging up. So, but underneath the chassis, we see, there's some of the mica capacitors. We try and keep those in. There's a reason that they spent the money and put those in, which is beyond my pay grade. I'm just learning this, but I know that they're very specific valued and they may be difficult to replace. So I'm not sure how I'm going to address that either. Again, just kind of looking at the challenges that I'm going to need to address here. But I can't see keeping literally any of the components in this. We'll have to take a look at these two and this one, maybe, but the rest of these roundies, I'm going to guess these are all drifted, as old as this is, and a lot of this stuff looks pretty original. This cardboard wax cap over here. I'm not sure what dates I've seen these type before in amps, and some of the older, even solid state, not solid state, but some of the older tube amps that have come in, which have all been changed. I've never kept one. I didn't even bother testing them. So I'll have to take a look and see if I can get a little more information on those. I'm not sure, again, what happened with that weld. It's something that we're going to have to address. This wire looks like it's shielded, and it's pretty clean compared to the rest of these. And there is a resistor underneath here that looks like it's got corrosion on the legs of the resistor. I'm not sure if we can kind of get in there maybe and see that. It's about as far as I can kind of zoom in, but you should be able to see some of the green on this leg over here at the bottom underneath. of that resistor right across these these standoff pins. There's I'm looking, it kind of looks like it's burnt down here too. So not really sure what's going on with that. Not even sure what this is. So looking through, I just took a quick peek at some schematics to see if I could kind of make heads or tails out of what we have here. And what I've been saying, what it looks like is, from what I've seen, never worked on one before, but from what I've seen in videos and from other people, it looks like an All-American 5 type radio. And my understanding is there are some variants that are commonly referred to as an All-American 6, even though that's not really a designation. But I guess neither really is All-American 5. It's all very confusing at this point. But there were some additions of a possible different types of tubes, like either an amplifier IF tube or output tube, that kind of thing. And then there's some discussion about extra heating. So I'm still not really sure what we have. What I can tell you is that the tube complement. I'll go ahead and flip this back over. So the tube complement is pretty much standard, what you see on, from what I can see, on the 19 up to 1940 on the All-American 5s, except for this tube, which is a 12A6. Not sure if that shows up. And I haven't bothered to look yet to see exactly what that is or what it does. So I'll have to check it out. And what I can tell you is that I very quickly just and carefully wiggled each tube out and took a look at the bottom just to make sure that it had the index marker and all the pins and everything looks good under there. But we do have this this particular tube does not have any nomenclature on it. I don't know what kind of tube it is, but I'm sure it's a pretty it's one of the common tube sets from what I'm seeing. Basically, where I'm getting I don't want to brag, but most people will look up information in very exclusive places, and I am no different. I got my information from Wiki. Yeah, so there's that. So I'll have to go through and I'll have to check and see what the experts actually say about this. Cans are filthy, capacitor's filthy. There's a lot more dirt on here than I originally noticed, and I think it has to do with me observing it now, this new shop light, which is extremely bright, and as long as I don't use any of the functions on it, it seems to be doing a fine job. It's almost washing out some of the camera, so I have no complaints there, but I'm not going to be able to dim it, unfortunately. I'll have to get something done with that. That has more to do with the shop than anything else, but so there's some things that are coming. I can't power this up, and I wouldn't. Until I've gone through and replaced the caps and replaced what I know has got to be changed. But also, I don't have an isolation transformer right this moment. The old one gave up the ghost, and I just bought a new transformer. And I'm thinking, since I'm going to go ahead and do that, I might as well do something with my dim bulb set, make it a little bit more user-friendly. Right now, the dim bulbs are just kind of in a pile over at the side of the desk, or the bench. Away from everything else with the auto transformer, and I'm still deciding whether I'm going to mount the auto transformer inside of one enclosure with the whole kit and caboodle, or if I'm just going to leave that separate. It's an older Stocko type Dayton dial-a-volt kind of thing, and it doesn't really mount well into an enclosure. I'm sure there's a way I could do it, but it'd be a lot of horsing around, so I might just leave that separate and then just put the transformer, the isolation transformer, in a dim bulb set in its own enclosure. Might be more functional more functional for my bench setup anyway. But you do you. I'm not really sure where to go from here. I mean, I do. I'm going to take a look at some schematics. I'm going to take a look at some threads. I'm going to get some more information. I'm going to check into some cleaning practices. This thing's really filthy. I have this horrible feeling I'm going to wind up taking this thing down to nothing and giving it a bath with soap and water. I don't know about that capacitor. I see there's bearings in it. It looks like they're all there. I don't want to get too close of a light. I just don't want to, I don't want to manhandle this too much until I get that antenna coil off. And this is basically just supposed to be a peak. If I didn't mention it yet, I probably mentioned it 3 times in the other 2 videos. I immediately, before I even pulled this thing out, I put a piece of cardboard on top of the speaker. The front of the speaker looks good. The back of the speaker, I don't see any pinholes. I don't see any breaks. I don't see any tears. And I just pushed on the speaker, and it feels like there's, some free movement of the speaker. So I think it's going to be okay, but we'll find out. But just to make sure, either way, I just went ahead and put a piece of cardboard over this to protect it, to keep from pushing anything through it, and put a little masking tape on it before I even pulled it out. I did catch this dial plate just a little bit trying to get it out, but I was as careful as I could be. And then finally, I know just enough to be dangerous, and I don't want to be too dangerous. I want to make sure I'm preserving what's left to be preserved as best as possible. And the other thing is this weld. If you know why, I just can't imagine somebody woke up one day and said, it's a Sunday, there's nothing going on. Let's bust out the old Lincoln welder and lay some bead down on that there chassis. I don't see that. I think somebody was trying to make some kind of a repair of something and wound up with that mess, which of course the dial string is catching on and all kinds of good stuff. So that's all going to have to be, the dial face is crooked, and we haven't even gotten to the condition of the chassis or the coin mech or the face cover that's in the cabinet. I mean, all this stuff is going to have to be addressed. So it's not going to be an overnight process. But at this point, if you have any questions, I'm probably not going to be able to answer them, but I'll try. If it's specific to this and you want me to tell you about something that's physically on it that you didn't see, or I'm sure I can do that. If you have worked on these before and you have comments or traps that, hey, don't do that, but please, by all means, put them in the comments section. Make sure it's not, I'm sure some of you know the term, audio foolery. I don't want to really get into that. If it's a wives' tale about something, don't, thanks, but no, thanks, but no thanks. But if it's good, solid information, please share it. Bag it up with some source material if you can. But I'm not that picky. I'll go through it and see what's going to be applicable and what I can use and what we should be using, based on expert opinion, not mine, because I'm not an expert in anything. Nose picking, possibly. I'm pretty good at that. I can't think of anything else that I want to really bring up right now, so I'll go ahead and close it out for right now. Keep an eye open. There'll be more to come, and soon, with the auto transformer coming, or the isolation transformer. Not the same thing. Trust me, you don't want to learn that the hard way. We'll have more to go on, and I'll try to remember the tube complement there in the comments. So I hope I got all the audio and video in this one. If you're hearing this, then yes, I did. So until the next video, be nice to each other, be safe, and don't mimic the monkey.